Well, I'm sitting here with Tom Hill in the Redeemer Studios, our newly minted Redeemer Studios that Brad has set up. And Tom, you have been a member of this church since the 70s?
Jan and I started in 1975.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the Episcopal Church, St. Andrews in Fort Thomas, Kentucky, and I was an acolyte, and I was confirmed there. I was president of the youth group, and then I went to college at Center College in Danville, Kentucky, and strayed from churchly attendance for a while. And Jan and I were married in a Christian church up in Middletown, and our daughter Sarah Ann was born in 1973. We were living in Clifton at the time, and we moved to Hyde Park, and we actually hadn't really been going to church much. We went to several churches around the diocese that were Episcopal churches, but we didn't, feel comfortable, and it wasn't like we had any, heart-wrenching discussions or, where should we go to church? But just one day we said, let's go up to Church of the Redeemer, and we went and stayed, and have hardly ever missed since, other than vacation, since we started. So.
And we notice when you're on vacation, So that's you. So you were married in a non-denominational church. What was Jan?
It was a Christian.
Yeah, and what was Jan raised in?
It was Church of God, or they call it the Christian Church.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So
you showed up here in 1975. And Al Vail was rector?
Al Vail was the rector, and we really liked Al Vail. He, after a couple of years, encouraged me to become a lay reader in 1977, and also encouraged me to run for the vestry. So I was on the vestry that brought Jim Anisian to Redeemer.
Oh, wow.
So.
Which means you were on the vestry when Al left, and that must have been a really tough time.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think it was just sudden, and there wasn't any. Maybe we weren't in the in group or whatever, but we didn't realize that there were some hard feelings out there. But there were, I guess. But why they were there, I'm not sure I know all the reasons.
Sure, and I mean, I guess we never will know all the reasons, right? And it can be kind of like a soap opera of he said, she said about some of these things. But it's interesting to me when I think about the history of this particular church that I see you all, as I'm coming into getting to know this place better, I see you all as a church that's been through the ringer. I mean, it's been a while now, but you all went through something together, and everyone who was there for that period of time and is still there, still here, feels deeply connected to this church, and that was a real defining moment for the life of this church. I mean, when leaders of a church leave and there's a lot of sort of rancor or division, that's when a lot of people just say goodbye to church altogether. So I'm always interested when people stick around. Yeah. Was there something specific that really kept you?
I don't think there were a lot of people that left. I mean, I think a lot of people, we had a search committee. It took a while.
Yeah.
We had an interim. Bishop Barrett was his name. He was from California, and he was here briefly, maybe a year, and then Jim Anisian came, and Jim was a little controversial in some ways.
Sure.
He was the kind of person that could say certain things and somehow he was able to get away with it, and Al Vail could say certain things and he couldn't. So that's about how I can look at it that way. But
it happens like that. It does happen like that.
But
so Al Vail got you into the lay readers.
Yeah, and also about that time, myself and another young guy that was in college, we were the leaders of the youth group for
Oh, wow.
3 or 4 or 5 years. So.
Yeah.
And that was interesting. So.
Yeah. But I'm interested in the fact that Al got you into the lay reading, and now you're the head of the lay reading group, or you facilitate that ministry.
Correct.
And how long have you been doing that?
I think I've been chair since 2008.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, Cindy Carlton Ford and Gail Sheldon were the co-chairs.
Mm.
And I'm the chair. I've also assumed the role as the trainer.
Sure.
And when we have a new person come in,
So now, for those who don't know what the lay readers do, there's some who will listen and read and say,
yeah.
"Oh, of course, the lay readers." But what do the lay readers
in
do
the
at the
Episcopal
church?
Church? Technically, Redeemer uses the term, lay readers. It's actually lay Eucharistic ministers, and we are licensed by the bishop to serve at the Eucharist, to read the Bible, usually the second reading at the church service and at the Eucharist service, or at any service, I guess, and we're at the pleasure of the clergy to do what they want us to do.
Sure.
I've also, for the last 3, 4, 5 years, served as a lay Eucharistic minister, where we take the Eucharist to people that are sick and are homebound or have other, physical ailments, So
What's that been like for you? Taking communion.
I have really felt privileged to do that. There is some training to it, and I don't know. We usually, read one of the readings or the gospel reading. We have a little short service, and I've just felt privileged to do it. And I think, the people that I've taken communion to are very receptive, and they ask for it for a reason. And I think it's just a great thing that Redeemer does this.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's wonderful. Yeah. It's such an important part of the way we share this life together, to be able to make sure that people who are at home and can't get here can still be connected to the church in that way, to their family in that way, is really wonderful. And I remember my first Episcopal church, they had lay Eucharistic visitors for people who were homebound. And I'll never forget the first time I heard that prayer that we pray at the end of when we say, "We who are many are one."
Yeah,
because we all share one body, because we all share one bread and one cup. I remember the first time I heard that, I said, well, that was like one of the things that got me in on the Episcopal Church, was someone saying that. And I didn't even know what the context was. I didn't know they were taking it, what it was for. I just knew, if that's what we're about, I'm in on this,
I mean, I've felt that way too, that the Episcopal Church, especially this Episcopal Church, is very inclusive of all peoples and all races, and I had a privilege of taking communion to one of our few black members of our church. I worked with Betsy Babb and took Louise Smith communion before she died, and it was a real privilege to do that. So.
Yeah.
And I've always felt that whoever I'm taking communion to has really made me feel good that I did it. So
yeah, you're connecting, yeah.
And we're it's connecting to the Church of the Redeemer.
So what other ministries? So you you chair the lay readers, you are part of the lay Eucharistic visitors. What other ministries do you generally find yourself connected to at this church?
I've been involved with IHN as an overnight host for about 25 years, since the beginning.
Oh, wow.
I've been the Wednesday overnight host, and I've felt that is a important ministry at Redeemer. It's changed over the years, and we now have one of the best facilities in the city, because every family has their own separate room, and we have shower facilities, and so I've been doing that for a long time, and I think it's a wonderful thing. We usually house 4 to 5 homeless families, and a lot of the time we don't know exactly what happens to them, but we have hopes that when they go to the main building during the week, where they get help with finding a home or finding a job, that they go on to live better lives. So and sometimes you're able to talk with people, and they'll open their hearts to you, and you don't pry to them, but you just listen, and sometimes they tell you their life story, and sometimes they don't. So, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's so funny you said that. I feel like we sometimes treat people like projects, like we're trying to accomplish something, and if they're going to go through this program, if they're going to go through IHN, we want to make sure we can assure a specific outcome, and we can't. We don't know. But sitting with someone and listening to them, especially when a lot of people probably haven't, is a gift. And I bet you come away from that just as much.
Oh yeah, I get more out of it than so.
Yeah.
But I've also been involved with people working cooperatively and building ramps, Habitat for Humanity, couple other.
You come to one of the Bible studies
Occasionally.
from time to time. You are in the Theology Group.
Yeah, I have attended that.
How long have you been attending the Theology Group?
Pretty much when it started. I think Ed Eubanks and Carol pretty much started it, and I come the majority of the time.
Sure. Sure. Have you guys figured out your next book yet?
I'm not sure who they're going to do. They did Spong, John Shelby Spong.
Yeah, most recently.
And so I'm not sure
What's
what they're
next?
gonna do.
And then, so you come to Bible study, you're in the Theology Group, you're involved with IHN. No one's going to want to let me interview him after this, because you actually do everything. What ministries haven't you done yet? Are there any ministries that, like,
Well,
so
I mean,
for instance, are
when
there
I
any
was-
that you're thinking about, like, maybe I'll try that at some
Like
point?
I haven't done Christian education.
Yeah. Well, you worked with the youth group back in the
with
day.
the youth group, but I didn't, like when my daughter was young, I wasn't involved with Christian education back then, but I was doing, other things, but
Yeah. Yeah.
so.
Anything else that you've been involved with?
Well, some of the things at Meek I've been involved with, and Bob McGonigal became, who was our verger, became a really good friend of mine, and so I helped him out many times doing different things connected with the church. When somebody was moving, or I had a van, and before it hit a deer, or the deer hit it, and we used that a lot to help people move.
And you are, one of my favorite things about you is the Christmas tree place. You got me my Christmas tree, or at least told me where to go. Being new to this city, what is the name of that Christmas tree?
Hans Brinker.
Hans Brinkers. They're like famous in this city.
Yeah.
And they rent out some front yard of a house to do it.
Yeah, he's been doing it for about 30 years.
Is he Hans? Is it the Hans?
Well, his real name is Henry, but he goes by Hank.
That's not as fun for Christmas trees.
But in December, he's Hans Brinker.
Love it. Love it. And you've been helping him out there.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So you've been here for just over 40 years. I'm curious about what you see happening at Redeemer and maybe what you'd like to see happen in the next 40 years you're here.
I think a lot of good things are happening at Redeemer, and we have a lot of young families and young children, and I think and you and I have probably discussed this before, but we need to find a way to mesh the sanctuary and banquet services on a Sunday a little more.
Like get those two congregations to connect a little bit better?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely something we want
But
to do.
I think, the nice thing about Redeemer is that people come to Redeemer, and I think they're welcomed.
Mm-hmm.
We have greeters, but other people, I think there's a lot of people that just, if they see somebody they don't know, they will welcome them and smile at them and greet them and say thanks for coming, and answer any questions they have about the church and what they're interested in, and so.
That's great. And your wife, you've been married now, how long did you say? You and Jan have been married?
50 if I make it till August 17th.
You'll make it. We've decided. 50 years. And she used to run the Altar Guild?
Yeah,
Which means you had to help out with the Altar Guild some,
Well, I did a
imagine.
little bit of that. Yeah, she was the directress for 9 years, which I guess was the all-time record, and she had a full-time job as a RN at her last position was at the medical center. So
She just retired,
in
yes?
OB-GYN, yes. She retired in January. So.
And how long have you been retired?
I've been retired, I guess, 7 or 8 years, something like that.
Okay, I got one more question for you.
Okay.
How many times did you run the Flying Pig?
I didn't run the Flying Pig at all,
What?
but I ran 17 marathons
You've run 17
Prior-
marathons, and none of them were the
prior-
pig?
prior to the pig coming here.
Wow.
My last one was in 89.
Oh, wow. So the Flying Pig hadn't come here yet?
It had not started here.
Oh, wow.
But
I
I
just
my
assumed that
claim to
it-
fame was I had run the first 10 Columbus marathons,
You ran the first 10.
10 in a row.
Wow.
And then I ran the first 25 mini marathons, which was the big race in Cincinnati.
And how many miles is a mini marathon?
9.3.
9.3?
It's a 15K.
Less than a half. Got it.
Yeah, right.
And Cincinnati's got to be harder than Columbus because of the hills.
Oh yeah, yeah. Flying Pig is very hilly. So.
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, I'm really grateful for you coming and speaking to us, and I'm really grateful for the kindness you've shown my family since we've been here, and all of your dedication and your love for this church. It's the people, the strength of this church is in the people who care about it so much and are willing to give so much of their time. So you are a major strength of this church. So thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.